Hello, and welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for June of 2023. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
And I'm Julia Mijas, and I'm in San Francisco, California.
Let's take a look at what's happening in June. Well, Scorpio, Pluto, your planet, has been undergoing some changes this month. He has moved ahead into the sign of Aquarius, and I told you about this last month as he left Capricorn and just dipped his head into your fourth house of home and family and began to contemplate how he might transform the realm of home and family for you. That will really begin to unfold, though, in January of 2024, as Pluto moves ahead into Aquarius and is going to be there for more than a decade. But this month, Pluto, being retrograde, is going to be backing up into your third house just to finish out your third house over the course of the rest of 2023. So he's been in your third house, or at least he's been traveling along through Capricorn since 2008, transforming your communication, your style of communication, perhaps deepening your learning, making you curious to research and investigate things underneath the surface, maybe making you sensitive to subliminal communication, to body language, reading between the lines, the more instinctive layers of communication. So Pluto's been very busy, even though perhaps his work has not been quite so visible. That's generally true for Pluto anyway. But I just wanted to let you know, as Pluto is finishing out this house and this sign, that he's probably going to, throw you a bit of a curveball here at the end, because he generally does that. When finishing a sign or beginning a sign, a planet will do some of its strongest work right there in the transition places. So here at the end of this passage, it's really time to ask yourself, am I ready for a full-on transformation of my voice? And what message have I come here to bring? What is it that I need to say to the world? And how can I face the vulnerability around saying that and speaking my deep down mysterious hidden truth? And how do I articulate that in words? So it can feel like a vulnerable and tender process, but the transformation is just amazing and can leave you so empowered. Let's talk about Saturn next. Saturn begins the month in Pisces, having just entered there recently this year, this calendar year. And Saturn will be in your fifth house for about 2.5 years. And Saturn in Pisces is a little bit strange, because Saturn is so much about structure and integrity and authority and discipline, all of those things that have very clear, hard edges. And yet Saturn is traveling through Pisces, which is so much more loosey-goosey and dreamy, a little bit ADD really, and just, not very grounded at all. So when Saturn moves through Pisces, he's testing our spiritual, moral, and ethical structure. And he's asking you, where is your integrity on the spiritual level? Now, the interesting, and another contradiction is coming in here. The interesting thing is that Saturn is traveling through the fifth house, which is a house of fun and pleasure and play and games and trips to Vegas and love affairs and children and playing unselfconsciously like a child. So this Saturn could have to do with your parenting or co-parenting, if you're not together with your partner, but you're still sharing the parenting duties. This transit could be about stepping up and taking more responsibility around the parenting that you share, and just really taking responsibility for being with your child, playing with your child, having fun with your child, and really being there with and for your child. And that can feel burdensome, but it can also be really, really rewarding. Another thing that Saturn in the fifth house can signify is doing the hard work of playing unselfconsciously, which is to say, letting go of some ego and being yourself and being real and being authentic and not caring quite so much what other people, particularly the group, whatever the group is in your life, might think of you. Now, Saturn will go retrograde on the 17th. And when Saturn goes retrograde, there is a sort of a pivotal day that happens, a sort of a shift in your own mind about Saturn things. And so this could be the day when the insight comes about how you need to take responsibility, taking responsibility for the ego that you bring into the world, taking responsibility for your brand and your reputation, your personal brand. I mean, it might be your professional brand, but it might just be, you know, how you come off to other people, taking responsibility for your parenting. And then Saturn will go on being retrograde for the rest of the month and for a couple of months to come. So Juno starts the month in Gemini. And she's right here in your 8th house. So Juno usually spends about 2 months passing through a house. She was there last month. She'll be there this month for much of the month, but not all of it. And Juno is all about partnership, long-term committed relationship, whether for business or personal reasons. And the 8th house is a house of sharing. It can feel like a very intimate house, and it's absolutely about investing. And so this transit has a lot to do with how you trust and how much trust and what kinds of trust you place in your committed partnerships, again, whether personal or business. And so during this transit, you want to ask yourself, what is going on beneath the surface in your relationship? What do you trust your partner for and why? What areas are there in which your partner cannot be trusted? And you know this, and it doesn't make sense to, just give them the keys to that particular piece of life. So this is a good month for the examining of that. And it can also be a good month for looking into the investments that you share with your partner. Where do you have your money together as a couple? Is that money growing? And are you in agreement and in good conscious conversation about the disbursement of that kind of funds? So Juno is traveling direct and fast. And on the 20th, Juno is going to conjunct the sun in a lovely day that we call Commitment Rapture Day. And here it is, right here in the 8th house. So if you're building up to a conversation about, bringing things to light that have been going on underneath the surface in the intimate realms of your relationship, this could be a really good day for doing that. And it might lead to the revelation of some things that maybe you knew anyway, but that don't have to end the relationship. And this is actually a really good transit for the deepening of commitment. And so if you're not afraid of what might be revealed, I think I can tell you with some confidence, it's not likely to shake the relationship to its core, and it might actually lead to a deeper commitment. So this could be a conversation that's really worth having. And then shortly after that, Juno moves on into the 9th house, which is a house of travel and multiculturalism and expansion and growth. And this could propel you in your coupledom with your partner into a growth process or on a trip, on a literal journey. And this transit is really great. It'll go on for about 2 months from Juno's entry point here into this house. This is a really great transit for engaging in some form of travel, adventure, exploration, or growth process with your partner so that the relationship can be improved and so that there can be a wonderful sense of freedom and expansion between you. Now on June, yes, I've already said that, Ceres starts the month in Virgo, right here in your 11th house. Ceres is about food, body, money, the things that connect us to the physical world. She went retrograde way back in February in your 12th house and brought your attention, perhaps forcibly, perhaps uncomfortably, to some ways that things had gotten disordered and were sort of falling apart, disintegrating in the realm of the ways you connect to the physical world, like some aspects of your health routines were just not happening, had kind of fallen apart. You need a better system for how to take care of your body. Or perhaps some aspects of your diet were not working. And this Ceres retrograde period, which lasted from early February to early May, has sent you on an inward or retrospective journey to discover how you should be eating for health and longevity and how to cook for that, perhaps. It may also have played out in your finances. So it may be that your finances were super disordered and that you've had to kind of go back to the drawing board, as they say, and clean things up in the details. So Ceres has retrograded back into your 11th house, and last month I probably advised you to to seek out the help of groups to deal with this problem of whatever kind it might be, like a problem about your finances and getting better in managing your money in the details and in a way that's a little bit more with a discerning eye. Or perhaps a group that's organized around living in a healthy way, eating in a healthy way, or dieting together. And so Ceres in the 11th house has been really good for that. And now that Ceres is moving direct and forward and she's speeding up, I would definitely take advantage of the last bunch of days as Ceres is finishing this house to get all the good that you possibly can out of those group situations that you may have sought out. Now, Ceres will move on back into your 12th house and finish out that part of her retrograde cycle for the latter third of the month, starting June 21st. She'll be passing through your 12th house for about 2 months. And during that time, she's going to bring you back to a state of spiritual balance relative to your body and your money. And I recommend walks in the woods. I recommend communing with nature. You know, take your dog out, fling that ball around, play a little chase with your dog. You know, commune with the natural world to restore a beautiful sense of peace in your heart and in your wallet and your bank account. Hey, Julia, what's going on with Mercury, Venus, and Mars for all the Scorps of the world?
Well, Scorpio, Mercury's moving super, super fast this month. He's all over the place. He's going to be crossing 3 different houses, and we have an Epiphany Day to look forward to. So let me just start with where he begins at the beginning of the month, which is your 7th house. This house rules your romantic relationships, so you might be connecting a lot more with your partner, especially through conversations, texts, phone calls, emails too. Now, wherever we have Mercury is where we are very preoccupied that month. So you could be thinking a lot about romantic relationships too, especially if you're single, what you want out of the next one. And it's a good time to hire a contractor, somebody who you can bounce your ideas off of, like a doctor, a lawyer, or a counselor. Then by June 11th, Mercury enters the 8th house where he's going to be mid-month. This is your financial house. It also rules research and investigation. So you're not going to be happy with sort of the superficial explanations to things this month or mid-month. You're going to be looking to read between the lines and maybe dig deeper, investigate more. It's a great time for research too. And you might be planning and strategizing more about your financial investments or the money you share with the people close to you, like your partner or your family members, for example. Then by June 26th, Mercury goes into your ninth house. This is a house of learning. Mercury loves to learn as well. So your mind might be on faraway places. You might want to take a course, join a lecture, read a new book, because you just want to expand yourself through your mind by the end of the month. So plan a trip, go on a trip, or just do something that really kind of opens up your world. By June 30th, so at the very end of the month, Mercury directly conjoins the sun. We call it Greater Epiphany Day because it's a direct conjunction versus a retrograde conjunction. Then that's Lesser Epiphany Day. So on any Epiphany Day, it's a time of insights and revelations, and this is happening in your ninth house. So you could have some clarity about a legal issue in your life, maybe about learning something you want to do or expand your mind in some way, or even about travel too. So a very important day to keep track of, Scorpio. Now, Venus and Mars are going to spend a lot of the month in your 10th house of career, but at the very beginning of the month, Venus starts in your 8th for the first 5 days of the month. So Venus is going to bring you a little extra money luck at the beginning of the month, maybe through someone else like a business partner, your romantic partner, or a family member, because she is a relationship planet. Then by June 5th, Venus enters your 10th where Mars is going to be, and both of these planets are going to be in the 10th all month. The 10th is a career house. It's your public reputation. Now, Venus and Mars together are very charismatic. They're very almost magnetic together. So if you do anything in the public eye, you might come off with a little bit more even sexual energy with Venus and Mars in the 10th house. So if you do that kind of stuff in the public eye, totally good month for it. Venus in the 10th house means that you'll be getting along pretty well with the people you work with, especially authority figures too. So that includes anybody who tells you what to do, like a boss or a teacher or a parent. Now, Mars is in there as well. And Mars tends to bring a little bit more frustration along the way, but I think Venus is going to nullify him a little bit, smooth over his rough edges. So with both Venus and Mars in the 10th house, just really focus on your career this month. Really focus on getting ahead, doing something in the public eye, and just get out that Mars energy by working very hard, and if you have to do some work on your own, that's totally good too. Mars likes to do things on his own. He's very independent. This could be a month where you get so much done at work that it's just really nice, and you might even get some pleasure with it along the way with Venus in there as well.
That is true. Hey, Julia, I noticed that I made the notes wrong for you, and it said house 8 for Venus starting the month in Cancer. And actually, Venus was in house 9 at the beginning of the month. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Yes. All right. Then let's talk about Venus in the 9th house for the first 5 days.
Yeah, just briefly.
Yeah, so Venus in the 9th, the 9th being a house of travel, a house of learning, a house of expansion. You could just find a lot more pleasure with learning new things. And if you have if you can do a little bit of travel too, I know it's summertime, it might be a very pleasurable trip for you too, with Venus in the 9th for the first 5 days.
Yeah, so true. And then when Venus moves on into the 10th, there's that new concentration in the career arena with Mars, and so much motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Jamie here. Did you know we run live workshops monthly where you can get questions answered about your own chart? Join us for a live customized reading of your personal chart. This month's topics are success and your Saturn return, transiting nodes and your destiny, and harvesting opportunities during your Jupiter luck year. And these workshops are available exclusively for our beloved Patreon subscribers. You get the Nodes and Destiny workshop with your Tier 2 subscription, and you get all 3 workshops with your Tier 3 subscription. It's easy to sign up at the Patreon link in the description below. Now let's get back to the video. So let's look at the moons. On June 3rd, we have got the first moon of the month, and it's a full moon in Sagittarius, which lands in your second house. And I was talking about finances before when I was discussing Ceres. This is also going to bring up financial themes, just in a different way. A full moon is a time when emotions can run high. And also, it often will take on the form of a partnership dynamic because the moon and the sun are opposed each other during a full moon. So you might find yourself identifying with the like big-hearted, expansive, playful, and perhaps somewhat mischievous and bouncy moon in Sagittarius here in your second house. Or you might even find yourself identifying with that sun in Gemini in your 8th house, or you might find that a partner pops up and takes that role. And so there can be some pushing and pulling, a kind of a tug of war. Moon in Sagittarius in your second house can absolutely spell a time when you might be feeling so relaxed about your money and feeling just so flush that you might just want to go out and spend it on things that are, let's say, ill-conceived. So being generous with yourself is one thing and can be a wonderful validation of your worth and value in the world. But on the other hand, spending without thinking about it, without having that balancing conversation, maybe with your spouse or your business partner, I mean, you could end up spending more than you had to and not getting the value that you're looking for. There is a lot of help in this moon. There's a lovely trine to Chiron. There's another lovely trine to Pallas Athena and Mars. And you can find out a lot more about this moon in the video that we made about it on our monthly forecast page at our website, pandoraastrology.com. And you can find the forecast in the navigation bar. We're calling this moon Nerdy Adventures. And I think you'll enjoy the video that explains why. The new moon in Gemini comes along later in the month on the 17th, and that lands in your 8th house. And it's a new moon, so the sun and the moon are together. New moons are about rebirth, and they're like the planting of seeds. And this one being in Gemini, it's a moon to do with ideas. So we're calling this one New Ideas Dream Tested. And the reason for that is that while the sun and the moon are busy cooking up ideas together, Ceres is squaring them and demanding a reality test. Neptune is also squaring them, demanding that they be tested in the imagination first. So Ceres and Neptune have a little tug of war going on here. Neptune is pulling for imagination and empathy. Ceres is pulling for discernment and groundedness and pragmatism. Meanwhile, the sun and the moon have this little idea factory, and it's happening in your 8th house. So you might find yourself getting ideas about how to invest, where to invest. I would definitely bring that into a conversation with your partner so that it can be a conversation instead of just an idea in your own mind. And this could be a really wonderful moon for those intimate conversations that I was talking about when I said, Sun and Juno coming together in a conjunction for that commitment rapture day. So this could be a part of that as well. Then the last thing I want to talk about is that planets have been moving through your 7th house in Taurus in the last couple of months, moving on into your 8th house. And so it's really been very much about relationship, partnership, getting into one if you're not in one, and having your partnerships go well as these planets have been sort of migrating around this very partnership-oriented sector of your chart. And having them occupying the 8th house this month has really put the emphasis on intimacy and on having the intimate conversations and dialogues that you need to have to bring everything to light that's going on in those partnerships. However, all good things must come to an end. And later in the month, around the 21st, the sun leaves this house. And by then the moon is already gone, and then Juno follows the sun rather quickly, so that we see there's not at all the same emphasis in the 8th house, and there's starting to be an emphasis in the 9th house. So the 9th house is so very different from the 8th. If the 8th is like, a dark tunnel, a sort of a place of mystery and things hidden, the 9th house is like the light at the end of the tunnel, where things just become a lot more clear, and it's about breadth and freedom and expansion. Now, wherever the sun goes, we want to bring the sunlight of our high quality attention so that things can thrive and flourish in that area. And when the sun enters into the 9th house, is a good time to travel, whether, on actual physical journeys, or maybe just in your armchair with a coffee table book. So this can be a really good time for scheduling trips, maybe planning those trips, maybe actually taking those trips, and certainly a good time for journeying in your mind by learning something and expanding and opening your mind to learning some bigger ideas that it hasn't encompassed before. This is a really great time for a growth process of any kind. As I mentioned, when I said that Juno was passing over into here, you might take your partner with you and just enjoy some growthful adventures together during the 30 days that the sun is traveling through the 9th house, starting, as I said, on the 21st.
Well, that's all we have for you today. If you love Pandora Astrology's free and informative horoscopes, then please do hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share our horoscopes with your friends.
You can find out so much more about how this month's transits affect you in very personal timing in our monthly transits workshop for Tier 2 patrons on Patreon. And it's practically free at $15 a month. Find the link in the description below to sign up. Enjoy this beautiful springtime. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos.
Bye-bye.